Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright. I don't know what I'm going to say. I have no idea, but I haven't done a therapy session maybe in about, I don't know, a day or so. It hasn't been too long. Last one I did, I think, was on Christmas Day. Everything was good. Everything is still good. I'm not in a bad mood or have anything extra going on. Just wanted to tap in with everybody, say hello. These last couple days have been very, very good, man. I think I told you on Christmas I was really into art. I had a nice session there. Haven't really felt like doing any playlists as far as music is concerned. Nothing that's really dropped. Some of the stuff that I could derive from and stuff like that I just ain't really looked into. I've been more focused on the Lakers, to be honest with you. You guys have seen on this channel. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what I've been seeing. Of course, the team won yesterday. They ran the same stuff, but they played better. And it worked against this particular team, so I ain't complaining. So it's one of them type of situations where, I think what I'm trying to learn how to do is make sure that my energy projects the way that I feel. And it's hard to do that when you're talking about the Lakers, because I'll sit there and be thrilled to talk to you guys about the Lakers, even though they had blown a lead or lost or whatever, because it's really a passion of mine to talk about the Lakers. Like, I would have done that if I wasn't no camera. My mind is wired to do this. It always was. So when I'm talking about the Lakers and I'm talking about the mistakes they're making, I'm talking about them losing, I'm listening to myself and I realize I sound like I'm more angry. But what people can't see is that on the inside, I'm doing what I love to do. You feel me? It's weird. It's a very strange thing. So yesterday with the Lakers, since we're talking, it's a therapy session, I can tell you guys a little bit of the psychology that was going on with the team, which is starting to conflict, sort of like fantasy football does. When you have your fantasy football teams, of course you're rooting for your favorite team and your favorite players, but it's probably in your best interest if certain things go a different way. Because you obviously have other players from different teams that are on your fantasy team that if they play well, you know what I mean, obviously you win. So you're rooting for yourself, but for, when you're in the fantasy football game or whatever it is, you may have a player on the team that you're not rooting for that you need to score. So you'll have weird situations where in real life you want your team to win, but in the fantasy game that you're competing in, you need a certain player to do certain thing that's probably going to lead to your team losing. So this is kind of how it's become for a talking head. I talked up the Orlando Magic so much earlier in the day because I really thought they were that good of a team and still do, and told all of us, that our team couldn't win. And we came out and won. Now, mind you, I honestly think if that game was played 99 of 100 times, we would not have won. But we won that one time. Now I look over at Luka Doncic game. He scored 60 points, 21 rebounds, freaking 10 assists, and erased like a 14-point deficit in like 50 seconds or something like that, all in the same game, and won in overtime. And I'm sitting here like, that was impossible. The Lakers Magic matchup, as far as my basketball IQ is concerned, which I consider to be fairly good for a fan, and my ability to pair things together and detect bull crap, it's good. It's real good. I respect my ability to detect bull crap. And then the Dallas Maverick game, like I said, the Orlando game provided something that was impossible. And the Orlando Magic game provided like 2 or 3 things that was impossible in one game. Records being broken and stuff like that. And it just brings me back to what I've been telling y'all for the last 48 hours. The NBA's numbers are being broken, and it ain't necessarily because all these dudes are that great. It's because they're manipulating the games and they're doing it in some really, really interesting ways, and I'm just detecting it. Now, I didn't watch Luka Doncic's game. I saw the highlights. It looked like he was doing some awesome stuff. He hit last-second shots and stuff like these. He is as good as he needs to be. He don't need nobody to rig nothing for him, and that's another thing. It's like, I don't believe that a guy like Luka Doncic would ever need a referee to whistle an extra whistle for him, or ever need anybody to bend the rim to fold a certain way, as people have alleged the rims have magnets, all kind of weird stuff that I don't know nothing about, nor do I think that I can comment in educated ways on something like that. I just don't think that's nothing but something someone said and I've heard. But what I can say is other things in terms of manipulating the game. I can see. I can see how they're messing with it from a game calling situation standpoint. I can see how they mess with it from a let's take 10 minutes to look at a play to slow down the momentum type of standpoint. All that stuff you can break down into a science. You can look at all that stuff in analytics and see how guys are affected by certain things like that, and then implement them into the game purposely if you want to. These are things that they can do. These are things that they are doing, and these are things that I'm watching them do. But as far as magnets on the ground and all, I ain't got no evidence of that. But what I am saying is a guy like Luka don't need none of that. He don't. I can promise you, from what I've seen, even from footage of him overseas, he don't need none of that. He gonna cook anybody, anywhere, ever. He's one of those. So for me, it's like, I just don't want to see these guys in an arena that is controlled. I guess that's where the therapy session takes me back to. And maybe it always was. Maybe it always was. For as long as I've been alive, they've had rumors of the New York Knicks draft lottery being rigged. I was in 84. I was born in 84. So for all I know, all of it was rigged. I have yet to hear what Isaiah Thomas has said about Michael Jordan as of late. But I overheard the word said that Isaiah Thomas has used words to discredit Michael Jordan's entire career. That to me speaks to the same thing. Whatever he may or may not have said, if you can discredit the greatness of Michael Jordan, you're going to have to tell me somebody cheated somehow. And you can't tell me it's just Scottie Pippen taking a real big pay cut. Because you're going to have to prove that. You're going to sit up here and say the GOAT's career was something other than what we saw. I need to know what it is that you say you saw. But in listening to words like that, hearing things and concepts like that, it makes you wonder if it has been rigged all this time. I remember people talking about the 2001 Lakers-Kings series and saying how the Lakers were able to get, I think it was Game 6 in some weird ways. I was watching that as a child through Laker fan lens. I could not tell you what actually happened there. I have no idea. This is not the Brandon. That Brandon is not the Brandon you're speaking to. No, that Brandon had a very different way of looking at the game back in 2001. And when I was looking at that game, it was personal. I hated the Kings with a passion because in my mind they had poisoned Kobe on purpose. I think at that time that was either the year after that or 2 years after that. I don't remember. All of that's jumbled together. But the point is, it was like more so about the rivalry, about the win, about how much we hated Zlati and Weber and all those other guys, Bibby and them dudes. As long as they lost, I was cool, and any call that they may have gotten against them was fair, and any call that we didn't get was unfair, and that's just how I saw the game. It wasn't no unbiased, nothing, never. So with that being said, I had to see them games entirely through a new lens right now in order to tell you if I agree with that or what they saw or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even remember, truly. But I listened to people talk about those games being rigged. You know what I'm saying? I listened to that. I remember Tim Donaghy, so I've seen evidence of them rigging games one way or another. And it's just like, man, I'm watching what I'm seeing in 2022, and I'm really, really thinking it's just, I don't know if it's just me being more skeptical of stuff, me being more in tune with the league. I mean, as it pertains to watching these stats every night more so than I ever have. I don't know what it is, but I just get the feeling that all this stuff is scripted and set up and manipulated down to the numbers. And I'm just looking at what I'm seeing and I'm saying, okay, that should literally have not have happened. 99 out of 100 times that should have never happened. The Magic beating the Lakers, the way that we were lined up, who was on the floor versus what they had on the floor, how we played against Charlotte versus the way that we played with those same players the next day, with those same lineups and even more size disadvantages. Listen, I believe that certain ways to attack people can be very, very unorthodox. I've seen it in my own life in basketball courts that had nothing to do with the NBA. Guys that you've seen should not have beat other guys, just happened to beat them because they just did. They boxed out, they hit shots, they beat them. Bigger, stronger, faster, and better didn't matter. They just lost. And sometimes you just walk away scratching your head. You know what I mean? Sometimes it comes down to a combination of a few missed free throws, a few missed shots, and a few missed threes. And everything else be cool, or you won everything else. You know what I mean? You won every other category, including turnovers. And you still lose because you just didn't hit enough shots. And it won't be anything that really stands out very much. Stuff like that you see all the time in the stats. You look at the game and say, okay, I can see how that played out, or I can see that was manipulated. You look at a guy and you see he had a total of 25 free throws. He got to the line 25 times. And then you look on the other side and you see guys not getting to the free throw line at all. It's like, okay, let me look at the points in the paint. And then you see the team that didn't get in the free throw line at all got all kinds of points in the paint and hardly any 3-point shots attempted, meaning they were in the paint all the time to get fouled. It's like, wait a minute. And then you look at the other team who got all the fouls and you see that they were shooting more threes. You know what I'm saying? The guy got to the line. He was in the paint, obviously, but like certain things you can just say, all right, they're manipulating this game. Clearly they were leaning in on this particular player. They removed that player. I look at the Laker game, I say, okay, Paolo Banchero had 5 fouls and 4 points. How the hell did the rookie of the year, who's going to get rookie of the year, arguably an all-star this year, a guy who's on a 8 out of 9 game winning streak, because they only lost 1 game, get removed from a basketball game in the way that he did? Now, mind you, I'm on the other side of this. I'm the winning team. But because I'm looking at this as a fantasy basketball kind of thing, and I had been talking up the Orlando Magic all day, the last thing I actually wanted to see was Paolo Banchero do nothing. When I sat up here and said I wanted to see him be an all-star today. So I'm intently thinking he's going to kill us. And him not playing well made me look foolish, thus let me down in a different way, made me look at it through a different lens. Now, these days it's not 2001, so I'm going to look through a different lens anyway. Regardless, I'm going to be like, okay, I didn't see Paolo tonight. What happened? But in this particular case, I'm looking and I'm saying, why the hell did they remove Paolo from the game? When I otherwise wouldn't, because this channel wouldn't have been in place to have me up here talking crazy about how a player can do this, and this. And the point is, I'm able to see, despite being on the fan side, that something wasn't right there. Something right. It's the same way I felt about Anthony Davis getting a bunch of fouls in some random game we had. I don't even remember who it was, but we played some team about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he just picked up a bunch of fouls and could not play the rest of the game. He was in foul trouble like real early too, and our coach didn't pull him out the game or nothing, just left him down there to get 3 fouls in like the first quarter and played with foul trouble the whole game. And I'm just like, okay, our coach didn't help us get this player off the floor. And the refs didn't help us by calling a bunch of fouls on this superstar player. So both sides effectively removed him from the game. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, it takes me back to something I said yesterday in a video I was making in regards to the same thing. I was saying, to me, it seemed like the Lakers and the team they were going up against were both in collaborative efforts allowing the game to go a certain way on Christmas Day. Against who? Luka the Don, ironically. Like, they put 5 guards on the floor against all these big guys, proceed to watch it fail and not amend out of it while Luka's just looking great, while Christian Wood's out there just looking great. And I'm just sitting here saying, if the NBA has an agenda to have certain things take place, then along the way, games are going to have to be fixed. It's the only way it works. It's the only way it works. If you want to see guaranteed matchups at the end of the season, the science got to play out. You got to have this go that way, that has to go that way, that has to go that way, regardless of who gets hurt. You feel me? Regardless of who gets hurt, you got to see the games go a certain way. And in order to secure the fixing, to lock the fixing in, it can't just be the refs calling the games a certain way. You have to have the players doing certain things, the coaches doing certain things. It has to be a collaborative effort. It has to be. And this is why I haven't wanted to watch the NBA. This is why I've only wanted to watch our team, y'all. This is exactly why. And I think this is what it comes down to when I speak of just therapy sessions or whatever comes to mind. It's like, that's exactly what it is, man. It's a therapy session, and this is exactly what comes to mind. A safe space I've created for myself on my own channel. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't label these things with different words like I think this, I think that. Nah, this is my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. But I'm afraid I'm seeing stuff that's real, man. I'm afraid I'm looking at real stuff that I'm like, all right. Now, if there's no laws against this, then fair game. But the problem with this is that you're taking people money and you're not telling them this is what it is. They gotta figure it out for themselves. And if they want to pay for it, so be it. And I don't like that. I don't like that. Especially when you have people betting on the games. That's the part that says, all right, now something's gotten ugly. Now we're looking in the areas that just ain't cool no more. When you start taking people money and saying, okay, chance is in the balance. No, chance ain't in the balance when you're doing all this. It's not. Tell me who you plan on letting win tonight so I can put my money where it should be so that the game can be properly fair in regards to this betting. Now, nobody in their right mind is going to do that. Right? No one's going to do that. But they're damn sure going to do whatever they're doing over there with the numbers and the way this is being played. They're damn sure doing that. That's obvious. I don't know if this is the running conversation around the league with fans. I don't know. I'm telling you, I'm not influenced by nobody with what I do. I sit in one space, I isolate, and I just live my life and think and pray and all this stuff. And this is what I see in my phone. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing with the NBA and how they're officiating the game and how they ultimately appear to be controlling things. I want chance to be in the mix once again. And if you can't mold your business of basketball and the business of what you're doing corporate-wise to fit the ambiguity of chance in sports, then you need to evolve what it is that you guys are doing. That's all that tells me. You can't make no money unless y'all fix the games that you once promoted as games of chance. How does that work? Why did people lose interest in things not possibly going perfect? Or did they? They didn't lose interest. It's just that we pique our interest when things go perfect, and you guys want peak interest at all times, and that is not how this works. This is the problem with chasing the numbers, the greed and the ambition of those who reach certain peaks and want to see them repeat. It leaves no room for the tiers that are in existence, meaning if a guy is that great, if a guy is Michael Jackson and can sell 40 billion copies of one album, then damn it, that was the pinnacle. There he was. You don't get to see those numbers again because he was the best ever. That's why he gets to be the best. He rose to the top. His number's going to be higher than everybody else. But these greedy guys in the middle, they love seeing Thriller numbers. So now, you ain't never seen no other Michael Jacksons come along. But they can damn sure fudge the numbers to look like that to keep the hype up. And it's like, but is there any gold representing that money? You see what I'm saying? Is there any substance behind that? Is anybody actually buying that music, or is it just you telling us that the numbers look this way? The numbers ain't actually doing that. And here lies the problem with basketball. When you try to compare these dudes to the old guys, when you try to compare these dudes to the guys of the future who get away from this crap eventually, it's not going to be fair. It's going to be like an asterisk next to all of them because we're going to know this is what the NBA was doing during this era. They were messing with the numbers, they were messing with the officiating, they were doing weird stuff with the rules. So they let the numbers inflate, and therefore we have to pull those numbers back based on the probability of what things would have looked like if those rules weren't in place. And friends, that's forever an inaccuracy. You can never actually be accurate with that. So what does it do? It just pushes those guys to the side automatically. Because everything in regards to what could have been is maybe, well, if they woulda. We're already in that space already with the last couple of generations. Well, maybe if the 3-point line was, all of that is cool because the game evolves naturally. But when you start doing this, there's no evolution, or you get some weird evolutions that have to evolve through the manipulation, which throws the game into something else. Like I said, they're going to be throwing footballs at the rim eventually because of this type of crap. That's what it equals out to. You got to look at it like this. If you change what numbers actually mean, if 2 + 2 no longer equals 4, It doesn't mean that you can grab 2 things or 4 things and it still not be the same equated number. You just change the meaning of what it is that 2 actually means. 2 means 3 to you, but it doesn't mean that we're still counting something different when we do that. When we go 1, 2, it's 2. Just because you change the name from 2 to 4 doesn't mean that it's not 2 when we count it. That's essentially what I'm saying to you. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to change the numbers themselves. It's like, nah, 5's not 5, 5's 8. Live with it. Like, nah, 5's not 8, buddy. 5's still 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is what I'm saying to you, man. People fudge numbers like this left and right. In all different type walks of life. And it's just very easy to see. For me, for some reason. And then I look at, like, move away from this subject since it's a therapy session. I don't care. I just skip around. It's my brain. I look at the publications who've been smearing Kanye West and smearing Kyrie Irving. You know the ones. Pretty much everybody. Now they're coming out saying, pray for Kanye West. Nobody heard from him in 3 weeks. His wife ain't said that. I ain't heard Kim say that. I ain't heard nobody from inside his camp saying that he's missing and to pray for him. Only the publications that hate him, who've been at war with him for the last couple months, are now telling us to be fearful for his life. But I'm not seeing that on normal. I'm not seeing it everywhere. Just certain ones. And I'm like, that's interesting. Anyway, whatever. Prayers for Kanye. And then I look over and I see Kodak Black. And he's talking about Tory Lanez and how he's been sitting here thinking about that Tory Lanez thing. And he don't like that because Tory Lanez is a nice guy. And Tory Lanez is not a nice guy. That's not the word to use, but a good person. Somebody who will sit down and pray with you. Who will stop what he's doing and pray with you. And the word prayer was used 100 times. And I just look at you guys and I say, yep. Here we go again. There's more evidence. Another person on the prayer list that I didn't know had a relationship with God of any way. Now somebody's speaking about them, saying that they're prayerful. And all that. I'm just like, look, man. If you're watching me closely and you see how I be talking about these people, you already know they're on the list. You already know they were on the list before all this happened. You already know I didn't know they were prayerful people like that, except for Kanye, of course, it's different. But the point is, all of this is giving me just a little bit of nuggets for me to take back to my little experiment that I'm doing over here spiritually. Because I am seeing more and more evidence of ties that bind to the prayers I'm praying. And so I don't know if this is a proof of a living God, because a lot of people don't think suggestive nature is real. Yeah, these are all coincidences over and over and over again. That's fine. If you guys think the world works that way, that's cool. But there's evidence of the world not working that way as well. If you're looking at that, you'll see that too. And so what I'm saying is I'm seeing pairings. I'm seeing divine pairings. And I'm seeing people who I've been praying for pop up in my phone with spiritual energy either pointed at them, around them, or very, very serious attacks coming at them or around them, or inner demons fighting them and they've been exposed for it. It's variations of all of these different things. All of these different things. And of course, Kanye is on the list. So if something's wrong with him or if he's been called home to God or something like that, it's all divine. I'm telling you, it's all divine. But I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I think the same people who have been attacking him spiritually for the last couple of weeks, the same people he's been attacking spiritually for the last couple of weeks, this is just another ploy in the battle back and forth between them and our minds. That's simple and plain. Between them and our minds. So I'm just sitting here watching all of this, just documenting it in my therapy session, continuing to pray for these people as they are. Whether they're guilty or innocent, good or bad, it does not make no difference. Because I've lived in a dark place in my life at one point, where I know I deserve the worst, and I've lived in the best of spaces at one point, where I've been close to God. So there's no way for me to sit up here and judge nobody else, or look at somebody else as if they don't have no salvation, or as if they can't turn one way or another, because people are going to continue to live, and as they do, they're going to react to whatever the world gives them. The practice for me is to stay close to God and stay in a positive space. That's what it is for me. That's the mission I'm on. Stay in a space where I'm praying and stay in a place where I'm close to God, because that's ultimately what makes me feel good about living my life. And as I continue to do that, as I continue to seek that, these are the things that he continues to bring to me and reveal to me, or allow me to converse with you about. So we continue to document all this stuff. We keep on watching this stuff. I've been telling you guys I'm going to tell you who's on the list, but for whatever reason I have yet to do that. I guess it'll happen in due time if it's supposed to. But I'm hesitant to really say who's on the list for spiritual reasons. I wonder if it helps or hurts. I really don't know. I think it would probably require me to give it a little more prayer. But I definitely want to tell you guys who all is on there, so you'll see what it is that I'm seeing here. It's very, very interesting. But you know of a few of them. You know of a few. Tori's on there. And obviously Ye is on there. So hopefully things can pan out in a way that doesn't have them suffering. That's my request. And if men are guilty, men are guilty. But I understand that people around them are praying as well, and that holds a lot of weight, especially in the spiritual warfare that I believe we're looking at. That's what I'm here to say. So, yeah, I'm gonna tell you like those evil publications told us: pray for Ye, pray for everybody, pray for each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what I always ask people to do when I ask for prayer. You can pray for me if you like, but incorporate me in the prayers with others, because that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. If I'm praying for myself, it's a prayer for somebody else who has that same problem attached to it. I just don't believe in selfish prayers no more. They don't really do much for anybody. If I'm gonna go on the ground, who do they help? You understand what I'm saying? It's like, help myself. I'm good, and sleep. And then what? Everybody else after me continues the same stuff that it's been. Like the world doesn't change for nothing better because of my presence. I just don't think that's shallow, man. It does nothing for me. That does nothing for me. I lay my head down and all I've helped is myself. I'm not cool with that. I got too many people I genuinely want to see succeed. There's been too many people that I wanted to see succeed that didn't. They didn't make it. You know what I mean? For me to just continue to live my life as if I'm happy with that. I ain't happy with that. And I can't be coerced into being happy with that for some reason. Now, my mind's not wired to just go with the flow of things. I'm wired to challenge those things, to pray against evil and fight the evil within. All that is natural. So when I see people who are battling, and then I see an entity telling them to judge those people, I just go to the person who's in place to judge those people. Instead, the God above, whose job it is to judge them. And what comes to me is that, that's what he's looking to do when it's time. But for the time being, you got to look at who's trying to coerce him into spaces where they're being judged for being bad as opposed to being judged for being themselves. And right now, that is exactly what I've been shown. That we're not exactly control of everything that we do, or what it is that we think, or some of the choices that we make. They're suggested to us, etc., as we talk about all the time. That's what comes to mind. If you want to be in control of your own fate spiritually, you got to get that middleman out of the way who's coercing you to hell. We got to expose that person or that entity or those people or whatever it is. If it's in yourself, whatever it is, if it's in the way of you having that direct relationship with God and him knowing you and you knowing him, then you have to undo what's in your life that would ultimately put you in a position to not let that be the case. That's what's in my head when I pray about people who the world is telling me to judge. That's the exact response I get spiritually. So it's like it ain't got nothing to do with judging nobody else, really. That's not your place. What your place is to tell everybody that they have to do something other than just try to live their lives, that there's crap in place that they have to undo. That the Lord, in some variation, when you get to heaven, basically what he says is a lot of this wasn't your fault. To a lot of people who's going to hell right now, a lot of these people who are going to the heaven's gate, it's like, Lord, I'm sorry for it. He'd be like, stop you right there. Because you had a whole white supremacy to deal with, and let me tell you, half of that stuff was in your head wasn't even yours. Like that's what my spirit tells me. That's what's happening to a lot of people when they get up there. He's like, you know what? Just kind of just suit up, because we're at war right now. Don't even worry about going to heaven or hell. Just suit up. It's one of those. And so I'm like, all right, Lord, if that's what I'm getting inside my innermost when I'm praying, if that's what you're trying to get me to kind of more or less cater my mind to being prepared for, I guess. And I said, well, give me a way to make that palatable for those who wouldn't believe. Give me a way to make that something, you can let come out of my mouth without being disarmed by those who would otherwise shut their ears to what it is I have to say. Because this ain't no conventional stuff that I'm feeling, and this is not, this ain't easy to prove. But, here we are, we're having these conversations. So I just continue to use my brain as I see, what I see, and continue to pray as I do. Try to keep my spirit as pure as possible, as for the time being. Staying as far away from crap that I have no business going toward. You know what I mean? And as I do, I continue to feel closer and closer to that feeling I get when I'm praying. You know what I mean? It gets easier to obey to the good energy that tells me to do good things for myself and others, to do productive things and be more open about what it is that I see and speaking the truth. You know what I mean? And being respectful of what that truth can do to people. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, if it wasn't time to speak like this, he wouldn't compel me to. If it wasn't right for me to say these words, just like the first 36 years of my life, I wouldn't have said them. So that's pretty much where we're at. I'm trusting God, and as I do, I tell all of you, it's okay to not know who He is, because everybody has a role to play. Religion tell you otherwise, but that's not true. That's not true. Everybody has a role to play, and I just think that at the end of the day, we all gotta learn to respect one another, to not coerce one another into spaces that we can't live with, and respect people's minds. You know what I mean? Just because a person isn't the smartest person in the world doesn't mean they don't have extreme spiritual energy. Just because a person is highly intelligent doesn't mean that they're not spiritually bankrupt, or some medium in between, or some variation of some extreme, or whatever. Point is, we're all in different spaces, and there's more than one thing to look at. You gotta read energy properly. Read energy properly. Do not think evil is good. Do not think good is evil. There are going to be entities in place that tell you otherwise, as we talk about all the time. These are the things that I've been praying about, and they just continue to be on my mind. And hopefully, this will be an outdated concept someday. Somebody will hear this stuff and say, that's not what we're dealing with no more. This is not even our world anymore. Turn that off. We don't need to hear this anymore, because our world ain't like that no more. I can't wait for that day. And if this is that day, peace.